So, John Wedger Watch channel, you're doing brilliant. Thanks for your work. I just wanted to give you a shout out. It led me to go on to look for this, which I was wondering if it was still online. I've got it in my vault. This a clip for this video, but I was actually quite surprised to see that John Wedger's got it up on his channel, and that he is actually pushing this guy, Sheriff Hunter, who was exposed as a liar. He came into the community telling people that he was in the army. I can't remember what exactly the terms that he used. I don't know if it was the Air Force or the Navy or who he was claiming to be. Excuse me. But I seen it right away. I mean, before he even opened his mouth at the time, you can just see in his eyes the whole. I don't know about that lady, that woman there. I don't know her, but I don't get a bad vibe from her. I don't see her showing the same tells as Wedger and this guy, Sheriff, who we still don't know his name. I mean, honestly, John Wedger, it's like Pinewood Productions. You know what I mean? It's like, can I say what I want to say? It's like paedophile, pederast Pinewood Productions by the craze. It's child abuse activism as done by gangster mentality for the 60s London. And, a lot of people just think about Boothby and Cray when they see you now, John. And you want us to think and believe that gangsters are anti-child abuse when they put their families and their communities through absolute hell. No, gangsters like to virtue signal like Jimmy Savile. The White Haired Brigade, the Children of the Corn. Oh wait, wait, what am I looking at? What is it with the white haired Children of the Corn? These are all, put in the media spotlight. Blonde haired, blue eyed, Aryan. No, never mind me. I'm just getting carried away on a stream of consciousness. It's a bit ranty. This guy, Sheriff Hunter, like right in his eyes there, you can just see the guilt and the shame. He's no feeling it. I'm feeling it for him, but there's something really shady there, where he should be ashamed of what he's doing. Because this is all about deception, and I'm sure they use genuine, well-meaning people.
All in shot. I think we need to do a bit of punching. Right, hello everyone. Sorry about this. I'm just going to do a little bit of adjustment, bit of fine-tuning.
I mean, he loves himself. That's the first thing it comes
off. Get the top of our heads, and I think I'm just going to check with my other cameraman. How's it looking? Are we all in shot?
What I'm noticing here is, we've got a male peacock, and we've got two males and a female, and one's a male peacock, and he's very conscious of his body image. I bet he's quite vain. I don't know if this guy. I know he's got a bit of support behind him, but there's no proper safeguarders would have men in the community. And that's true. And for this reason, because unfortunately men make up the majority of perpetrators. And that's why we have to have separate spaces, and it's nothing to do with transphobia. People can live their lives however they want to be. They don't need my permission. Consenting adults, as long as children aren't being abused, and nobody's trying to change the definition reality in order to provide an easier environment for these predatory men to come into our spaces. So I would say the same to the survivor movement at the moment and the hunting communities. We really need to look at it's nothing to do with misogyny, misandry. It's nothing to do with man hating, to acknowledge facts, statistics and reality. And unfortunately, men do make up the majority of perpetrators. Now, we need to circle the wagons here. So, there's predators coming in and people are allowing them to be in. So there's something going on here. It's a fake
Sorry
movie.
everyone, I do apologise.
Controlled opposition.
We've had a bit of a unique
And there's your
situation here.
media friendly
Alright.
John Wedger introducing.
James, turn the volume down.
Right, okay, I'm ready to go. I think we need to come in, if we can come in as much as we can here. Sorry, there's three of us in there. I'm using the Broken Dreams platform only because we've had some technical issues, and Facebook for some reason has now restricted my account after the last video I put out, I think when I interviewed a victim of satanic ritual abuse. So thank you so much to Broken Dreams, and it's linking onto my John Wedger account. So a bit of an exclusive here. I'm interviewing Kate and Sheriff from Broken Dreams, and they are civilian child protection officers, commonly known really as paedophile hunters or online grooming hunters or whatever it is. The result is the same. These are really the future of the criminal justice system. They're going to explain a bit more, but they're going out there.
The future of the criminal justice system? Absolutely not. You're not speaking. I mean, a lot of the police don't want to see paedophile hunters out for the very reasons that we're going to show tonight. This guy, Sheriff Hunter, is not who he says he is. It's not been answered as to why he's there. It's been left. Why you're promoting him. Again and again and again, you and Baloney churn out these characters, don't you? You know, the child abuse heroes. They're no, and we're not buying it. And for the people that are buying it, I'm really, really sorry.
And they're monitoring the social media where grown men mainly are grooming underage boys and girls, really for the purpose, I would have thought, for sex, ultimately. So welcome, and thank you so much for agreeing to be with us. Now, Sheriff, you can just explain to me, how did all this come about? How did it start? Myself? Yeah, and a bit more about exactly what you do.
Yeah, so the hunting's been going on for a good, I'd say 7 years now, isn't it? Predominantly, yeah, but a good 6-7 years. Myself, I entered into the hunting because one day I'd seen a sting, and it was somebody that I'd known in a pub, and from that point I asked to be secured.
Right, so it's a bunch of soccer hooligans and guys that go down the gym with major testosterone and roid issues coming into a community of women who are really, really vulnerable, asking them to speak sexually to sexual predators online. I'm sorry, I don't see these guys as anything else than wannabe pimps. The guys that come in and control the hunting teams and talk about decoys as if they're working girls, There's something really sinister about all this. And survivors, they don't get any training, and they get asked to give their pictures over of themselves when they were children. How triggering would that be if you were a survivor? The whole paedophile community's got a hold of your picture. I mean, this is what a lot of us are suffering, because our abusers took film and photographs of us, in the 70s and 80s, and it's been online ever since. I'm not the only survivor that speaks about this, but it hardly gets spoke about. And John Wedger won't speak about it, but he'll tell you to go and watch child abuse. It's fucked up, man. These people are sinister.
Security with a team called Stop, and from there we started our team Broken Dreams.
Yeah, John, you're sinister, and
here we are
we see
today.
it. You know,
I mean,
and people
I'm
are onto
looking
you.
now at your viewing figures.
You and
I mean,
Bill,
you've
the
got
audacity.
enormous live viewing figures. I mean, you're pulling. This is late at night,
this is
so
what- this
the
is what
figure's
this
going to
is
be
all
low.
about.
You're nearly 2,000 live.
This gets me really angry, because this is what this is all about now. Now, of course, there's a section of the public out there. How many million people in Britain? Of course, there's a section of the community in there that's going to drop in on that. And a lot of it's targeted towards survivors that haven't had any opportunity to come and deal with their rage and their anger, and they're projecting it out onto these videos online. Everybody wants the network to be exposed, right? But this is a problem that isn't solvable by the way these guys are approaching it. There's something else going on here. It's about viewing figures, and it's about money, and it's about narcissism, and it's about, I'm a model, I'm for my sex, and I want to buy a nectar. The fucking gangster division trying to get into the arts again. Fair enough, right? I mean, I'm sure, Hitler might have been able to paint. I don't know. Right, look, this is entertainment. Child abuse is entertainment. This is what these guys are selling you in a package here. And it's sick. And look at him with the sunbed tan, the hair all back. That lassie's sitting there, she doesn't really care how she's come, but she looks like, she's there because she's, it seems to me that she's kind of half genuine for what she's coming across as.
Which is incredible. So it just goes to show the platform that you've got is monumental.
It's building, and we're finding a lot of followers from the States are joining across the world now. People are following.
Oh, you're a big worldwide star because of child abuse.
It's moving very quick these days, and it's expanding very quick. The followers has jumped a hell of a lot in the last couple of months.
This is sickening. This is off the back of victims.
We've had to restart a page that we'll be going into later on.
The real victims, no the decoys, the actual victims that these people target.
But yeah, it is building very quick. I'd say most of the time that we hit live, we've got 2.5 viewers watching.
A 2.5 thousand?
Yeah.
Each time. Wow.
It can roll up to 7 or 8.
So we're here to talk about safeguarding in the community.
You're really talking about the end result going into maybe possibly the tens of thousands of views almost instantly.
We've had what, 500,000?
Well, so that's the live. Yeah, the live is obviously an initial audience.
I'm not going to watch
For me, it's the reach. Sometimes after half a day, it can be a couple of 100,000 in its reach.
I just wanted to explain that this was before the Walter Mitty Club and a group of guys for the army who quite rightfully go around looking for guys that claim to be soldiers, and they look for what they call stolen valour, and it's shady, isn't it? Pretending to be a hero, so to speak. And they found out that he was claiming to be in the army, and he wasn't in the army. I think it was the paras. I'm not sure. Some serious, not to be messed with division in the army. He was claiming to be. I'm no good with the army. I don't know all the different names for. But I did get accused of being 77 by Scottish nationalists online, which is so funny. I can't even. They do think they're that important. They actually do think they're that important. But anyway.
Basically explain what you do to the layman.
We're an online child protection team. We kind of try and police and monitor
blah, blah, blah.
online activity regarding predators, online grooming, and people that trust
manipulate
and groom our children with the intention really to line them up for a meet. And,
why lie about being a soldier?
So you've got a good success rate. And you can go out there and you can put your decoys in. So can we just explain what decoy is for those who don't know? So a decoy is an adult that hunts a child profile, and they basically wait for a predator to make contact with them.
Mannerisms.
And what sort of social media platforms do you guys use?
So different teams monitor different. The hunting community is massive. Some teams monitor the live apps, some teams monitor dating sites, and other teams we predominantly try and monitor preteen platforms, platforms that are designed for preteen, where predators are actively seeking out preteens.
And how do they first sort of make contact with a preteen? They
Again,
claim to be a preteen themselves.
it's different, John. It can vary. You get catfishes and you get guys that just come straight in with their profile.
You'd be surprised. Some feel quite safe behind that account.
Right.
So they'll come in and they'll be quite honest with you.
And you catch these guys, but what if they were actually talking to a child and arranged a meeting? You know, there's a lot of vulnerable kids out there. We saw it just before Christmas when this little lad was murdered by Dad's girlfriend. I can't remember the lad's name, George or something, poor little lad. And he was sitting there crying out, no one loves me, no one loves me. So when you've got broken kids like that, they're just in need of comfort and love, and all of a sudden someone is showing them attention online like this.
Exactly.
I mean, how dangerous is that?
Well, they're the easiest targets. So vulnerability is always, in a lot of sexual abuse cases, whether it's a child or an adult, vulnerability is a massive thing. People prey on vulnerability. That's a fact.
But well, it's been proven in the independent inquiry that a child that's been sexually abused is 6 times more likely to exploit it for sex. 6 times. So even once they've been abused, all it does is set them up for further abuse.
Yeah.
You know, it's unbelievable.
And you identify those people so
the
that
other
you
thing
can
we
abuse
discussed
them in your network.
before we went on, that there's a staggering amount of children's homes, and I asked the guys how many children's homes do you think there are in the UK, and someone said 350. There are 55,000 children's homes in the United Kingdom. Now, bear in mind, and this is what comes from the work I was doing, and also has come out from the inquiry.
Unless you're really into child protection and
out of them,
safeguarding, which you're no, John, we understand you're not.
Within these care homes.
It would be the
on
other
whole,
side,
they
the
will average
BBC
losing
celebrities that go
2 to
into
3, so
and
2
pose
fifths
as
to 3
comedians
fifths of the children
who
will go missing
procured
at the weekend for the power.
children from Blue Triangle Housing Association in Govan in the 90s. Oh, but you try and say it against any of them, you know. It would be like speaking out against Jimmy Savile when he was alive. And yous are a BBC production. You make me sick.
Sexual exploitation. So if we think of that colossal amount of kids, because there was a statistic about 100,000 kids going missing every week. These are vulnerable kids.
This is the far
that haven't
right
got a mum and dad protecting them,
doing
looking
child
after
protection.
them. And they have access to social media.
And
And
they're
they will be
sick.
going on these platforms. Can we talk about the actual abusers
even see how
themselves,
sick they are.
these perpetrators?
And
Because
you know,
once
don't
they
get me
get caught
started
and
on
they're
the left
convicted,
as well. You know, they don't have any. You know, children and survivors and victims we're not in a safe environment to come forward. Now, there's powers that be that have made it that way. There's powers that be that have made it that way and have made it so. We've got powerful interests at work here influencing our country, buying up our media. You know, that it's not a conspiracy theory. Just the fact that you have to actually say that means that, you know, the government's done their job well with their controlled opposition groups who make everything sound like a conspiracy theory when it's a threat to the government. When it's a real threat to the government, you'll have the News of the World crew all over this, you know. Oh, Jesus. You know, we're in a pickle.
they are now a registered sex offender. You know, is there anything in particular about these people? Can we categorise them, or is it just a mix?
It's a mix. I mean, the scary thing is something like that. I mean,
This guy's kidding on, he's in the army and he's not. You know, what does he do? Is that for a living?
Clearly got a wire missing, but the scary thing
qualifies
is there's a lot
him.
of guys that you wouldn't bat an eyelid with. Nobody is themselves until they're between four walls on a device on their own, and that's a fact. And when you're approaching some of these guys, some of them you wouldn't even second question. Some of them have high jobs, as we know, as we'll go on later on into the interview, that we've caught some very respectable people, pillars of society in the community. So yeah, you know, but everybody wears a mask, and when you're on the internet, it's so much easier to wear that. Become something that you're not. That's the problem with the internet. You can be, if you're somebody that, not that there's anything wrong with having a low paid job, but if you're somebody that's in Tesco's and you drive a Robin Reliant,
low self-esteem and all sorts of things,
on the internet you can become somebody that drives a Mercedes and you're a bank manager, you know. That's what you can persuade and fantasy.
And you see this with trolling, you know, the abuse that you get online, you wouldn't get in person because they're cowards. They hide behind the anonymity and the protection that the internet gives them.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, I worked on the vice unit, and we did have decoys, and we did have a unit that did exactly what you're doing, albeit they did it 20 years ago. And I can always remember that there was a program they had, and whenever anyone was looking in, so we're just gonna have to squeeze that round because we've got a bunch in, because there is 3 of us in there and we're really restricted. This program was any sort of monitored site, child porn site, would come up on the screen, and London as a red dot. London was just this glowing massive red dot.
You said this, yeah.
I mean, it's an incredibly difficult thing to police. We've seen massive failings in the police. We've seen their reluctance to proactively go after anyone hurting children, and that has come out of the government inquiry. Your groups are going out there actively, proactively, targeting, these people that are a huge risk to our children, and you're doing it to phenomenally great success. Now, how have you been received by the police?
I started this 2.5 years ago, and I say on a lot of my updates on my lives that the noticeable change in the way that response officers are dealing with us and handling us on the ground is massively changed. That
It's because the orders came from on high, so I hear for a birdie. That the orders came from above. Fucking above. Somewhere sitting down in Essex somewhere. Fucking Devon. The orders came that they've not to prosecute child abuse images, and that there's really isn't much point in actually giving heavy sentences to child abusers, and that's the advice that's been handed down from above. Now, if you ask me, that's creating what they would say is a market for these people who are basically controlled opposition, trying to control the real hunters that are out there, who you don't know their names and their faces. You don't know them. They're no after fame. They're like me. I've came out, right, as somebody who exposed 2 major paedophile rings. But I'm rare, because the majority of people that do that, have to be in hiding for the rest of their lives because of this network. The network's invisible, but it's there, and they're spearheaded with a campaign called Fair, and one of my heroes is on there, Stephen Fry. I mean, I thought Stephen Fry was the bee's knees for years until I seen him lending his name to the Fair campaign, along with a lot of other notable heavyweights, people that can bully people. For survivors are easily bullied by celebrities like this, and we have been for years, and that's why celebrities get away with it until Me Too. But Me Too never really took off properly for children. Where was the Me Too for the younger generation in Hollywood? It was for the older generation women, quite rightfully so as well. But it did omit the most vulnerable, the Britney Spears, while she was being programmed at Disney. So we've got a load of corporate lawyers who keep image for these people who run these controlled opposition groups to make it look as though something's being done. But actually what we're being presented with here is like a false, it's a mirage in the desert of injustice that we find ourselves in, This is not what it appears to be. And I'm sorry, I don't get a bad vibe off that woman, and I'm really sorry I don't know your name. I don't get a bad vibe off of you. I see you as one of those survivors, women who are genuinely there, and being duped by these people to hand over pictures of yourself when you were a child to predators, basically, and the purpose for that. So how is that? What kind of effect is that having on a survivor? Right, so you've got specially trained officers that do decoying. you know, and they get psychological support for what they do, and they, you know, it really affects them. So if you're a survivor and that's your trauma, that's your wound, that's your you know, it's got the ability to kill the trauma that's inflicted on survivors, the damage that it does. And people that are successful in their lives in spite of being a survivor deserve praise, and they do, and credit, because they had to fight harder, you know, to get to where they are. But how can we actually deal with the roots of a problem if you're only dealing with the branches up here like this, with a showboat organisation that don't even know what they're talking about?
No longer jump out the vehicle, right, now panicking and push
You
it
see
away.
kids on, he's a soldier.
Jump out.
So how
We do
can we
a
trust a word that
handover
comes
with
out his
them.
mouth?
Right.
And
People
they're
don't
very
seem to
calm.
get it.
They work with us to take the evidence. So yeah, the response units on the ground, they're brilliant. They're brilliant. Sometimes, depending on different OICs, some can work with us, some seem to be very much against us. But generally, the response units on the ground, they have. It's almost like within their training, they've been taught to work with.
I think they have. My friend was telling me that recruits are now told to start linking in more with what they class vigilante groups.
Yeah.
Like, it might be a bit of a vernacular term, but let's not get caught up on a word. It's the way forward. I see it. We've just seen, and again, I won't say his name because it seems to deplatform us. We've just seen an individual who's got a real gripe, as everyone should have really, with Muslim grooming gangs, and he's put together this video called Rape of Britain, which again is an incredible bit of work, in which in there he's actively exposed a grooming gang to a criminal court standard and a corrupt police officer. Now, they're putting the paperwork together, and I would have thought it'd be ready to go without even the police needing to intervene. Unfortunately, look, we don't have custody suites as civilians. We don't have access to courts like the police do, so you still got to hand these people over.
Absolutely.
How does that work? So let's go through a sting. You've had the information, the intelligence has come through, you then have a decoy go in and start conversation.
So now the decoy will obviously, the predator will make contact.
He doesn't give her
I
a
won't give too many
chance.
tactics away that the
No,
decoy
don't.
use.
Yeah.
But
doesn't give
however,
that
the
woman a
predator
chance
will
to
always
answer
direct the
anything.
conversation. The decoys will never use anything.
Sheriff the
enticing,
kid on
right
soldier
down
is
to
the
an
start.
emoji.
Well, that's called a laid on offence then, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
they lay it on and you just take it up.
Absolutely. So they're fully trained in the way that they will respond. Their answers are never enticing. And what happens is, throughout the chat log, we will take on board whether there's a safeguarding issue with real kids. That will determine whether we're going to hand the case straight over to the police.
Yeah.
God, it's just tedious.
There's a safeguarding issue with a real child that we know of. An indecent image is sent across the hunting board, standing protocol, turn the phone off, call the police, they come down, the case is handed over to them.
Right, so that image is now on there, and if you do anything with it, you're making and distributing an image.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
So phone off, straight away, over to the police. They do downloads, and that case is then handed over to the police. If they are in contact with another decoy, it could be possible that we could still go on to sting them if 3 weeks later it seems that the police haven't made a move and arrested him, then we will jump in and speed the process up.
So, and then you actively go out there and do what you call a sting, don't you? So,
Yeah, yeah.
so like a meeting is arranged.
Sometimes it's a meeting, sometimes it can be a door knock. It depends on the dialogue. If they mention a safeguarding issue, they mention a real child, we'll move very quick that day.
Right.
For the simple reason, we're here to stop that. And if they're mentioning real kids or there's a safeguarding issue, that's the whole reason we're here. So yeah, we'll move quick on that.
And what power have you got to do anything about this?
We have the power of a 24-hour arrest, and you know,
So let's explain what that is. So that's Section 24 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. It's any person power. So basically, citizens arrest.
Yeah.
So if we look at this in context of simplifying it, what is a store detective? There is someone who's acting under the same legislation. They can detain someone because they've committed an offence. They've committed an offence, which is a serious Schedule 1 sexual offence. You go in there, and they're detained, and then the police come
so
in.
they're committed an indictable offence right up to the point, or obviously we work predominantly off the Child Sexual Communications Act of 2003. So before we do a sting, we normally work off a 5-tick system. So if they tick 5 boxes and committed the offences, then we will move on to then go and get them.
Right. And in respect to when the police say come away, do they feed back to you what the outcome is?
Some do. a lot of the time we get updates. I mean, in theory, the victim, which is the decoy, should be updated anyway, legally. Different police forces work in different ways, different counties. They are so different in the way they operate.
Completely different.
Yeah, completely different.
Who have you been really impressed with? What force?
Net.
The Met, really? Well, first time I've heard that then.
We like
And
both.
Essex, to be fair.
And Essex, yeah.
Right,
Essex.
okay.
We are a southern team, and if I was to say that the force that seems to work against us the most seems to be Kent.
Really?
Yeah.
What's their problem?
I don't know. I think the leader of Pollock doesn't really like the hunting team. So,
Well, ain't much they can do about it, is there?
but again, I never really fault the response officers. I always say, look,
Kent response were brilliant.
Yeah,
Kent
Kent,
response officers were brilliant.
most response officers are brilliant. I always like when you do a sting, the first couple of minutes will determine how the sting is going to move forward. And it's the same when an officer gets out of the car. How you greet them, how you talk to them, and how you approach it will always set the way that the handover is going to go.
Yeah.
You know, if you're sitting there screaming at the ped and looking like a thuggish group that's surrounding him, and
Yeah, which has happened, hasn't it?
it has.
You know, and there's, I think in the early days, the inception of this, there was a lot of intimidation when they were
That's
belittling
completely
them.
different in the early days.
Yeah.
Completely different.
It's moving forward. It is moving forward, and a lot of the teams are triggering on to the calm approach. The idea now is to get to the bottom of what they've done in the past, not just what they're doing with the decoy. You know, as I've said to you when we went over for dinner, I said we catch a lot of these guys, and most of the child sex offences are done within the circle of trust.
Right.
So a lot of these guys have committed serious offences
Oh,
with
yeah.
one of their own. One of
Yeah,
their
of
family
course.
members.
Yeah, it always usually happens.
And
Yeah.
that's what we're there to stop and get to the bottom of. You know.
We found this with the, I think the Rotherham grooming gangs. They weren't just abusing these white girls from housing estates; they were abusing their own children as well.
Of course.
You know, and that's one of the things that never come out. The children of these people were also getting abused.
Well,
And
It's like
80
shame stuff that's swept under the carpet, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and there'll be cultural issues and all things, but 80% of all abuse goes on within the home.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
need to get this right. And the people that you're dealing with, these are broken people. I mean, no two ways about it. Again, I'm not siding with them, but we need to understand this mentality. If you're going to combat it, you've got to understand what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You're dealing with truly messed up individuals, because anyone that has got this cognitive ability to find a child sexually attractive, there's something seriously gone wrong there.
It's a very hard thing to understand, though, if you're not that way inclined yourself.
Yeah. Whereas they are, and they are the key to it. So my way of how I used to deal with it, I would ask them, you know, and the one way is that for them to tell you is if they like you. Now, if you brutalise someone, which people used to say to me, why don't you just bash up these paedophiles? Well, what good is that going to do? You know,
Exactly.
one paedophile can give you 5, 6 more other paedophiles.
Absolutely.
So that's the way I would look at it. So when you talk to some of these sex offenders, do you manage to break that barrier and get through to them?
Yeah, we do. As a team, we're moving forward. We are getting a lot of evidences. Even the last, as our followers will know, that the last couple of things have been very powerful, and we pride ourselves in getting in their head and trying to get out of them what's happened. One of the last things, guy admitted to abusing his sister between the ages of 7 and 12 when she was between 7 and 12. The next one.
That just shows how powerful it is, because that girl would never have got her justice.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that. We
Yeah.
need to go, you know, because so you've got a Schedule 1 sexual offence of them grooming a kid. But on the whole scale of sex offending, we can say that it's down there, really. But sexually abusing incestuously, you know, that's a very high up there offence. So that little offence is now giving you something big.
Massively, and you know, for me, it's trying to like understand cancer. Will you fully understand it? No, but can you understand it enough to slow it down? And that's what we're trying to do. Does that make sense? Believe it or not, the hunting in community has made a massive impact because people know we're there. Whether you're pushing them further underground and we need to improve software in the future and modernise with it,
Yeah.
that's acceptable. But at the moment, they're thinking twice, a lot of them, before they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, with trying to find patterns with paedophiles, you're always trying to put together a piece of what triggered them. The biggest question with this is, was somebody born a paedophile or was a paedophile created?
Yeah.
I don't believe somebody was born a paedophile.
No.
I believe that scenarios around them, i.e. Interfering with siblings experimenting, that could be one creation for when a paedophile goes back to that very first sexual experience.
Well, let's look at this. You know, this nature-nurture argument, which is the age-old argument, you know, were they made or were they born that way? There is not a community or culture on this planet which allows paedophilia. There isn't. And as people say, well, it's written in this religious book and that religious book, it's allowed. but it's not. They've done anthropological, if that's the right term, studies on this, and even as much as to go to Papua New Guinea, a tribal jungle community, even there, when they've been totally cut off from the rest of humanity, anyone who is caught sexually interfering with a kid is banished to the jungle for 2 years. The reason being, no one can
There's
survive in
actually
the
a
jungle
tribe
for more
that
than
does
a year.
abuse their
They'll
children,
die. So they're committing them
ritualistically.
to, and if
don't
they
know where
do
you get
survive and
them
they
from.
come back, they are at the bottom of the social pile. You know, so as primitive a community there, they still understand how detrimental sexually abusing children is. You know, age of consent changes, of course, you can understand why, because life expectancy and you know, years ago, even in my lifetime, kids could join the armed forces at 15. You know, whereas now they won't allow that. So as we progress, the age of consent, you know, the age of consent, sorry, that gets lower, but kids tend to develop a lot slower.
Yeah.
Whereas they were before. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that these people are made.
It's
If you can be born, this is sort of the way I see it. If you're born and your preference is a woman, or your preference is a man of who you fancy, then why can't you be born and your preference is a child wrongfully? But why can't that happen? Because that's, to me, that's sort of it's your preference, isn't it? You wouldn't choose to be that way if you didn't have those urges for a child.
It's also when you do start talking.
So, a paedophile hunter has just conflated. She's just said that paedophilia is a sexual attraction, like being gay is. She's compared it with being gay. And I'm just going to stop that there. That made me feel sick.